I'm Cinnamon Cooney, I'm your Art Sherpa, and this is one of my doodles about how to get your studio kit together. It is really overwhelming for new artists and sometimes even experienced artists to go into Michael's, Hobby Lobby, your local art supply store and figure out what you even want to buy. This is my advice on different things that you can get that will work for you, the lowdown on costs, everything you just need to know real quick broken down. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is brushes. There's a million brushes inside the art store, but here's the deal. You're going to need a square, you're going to need a filbert, you need a round, and you need an angle. And mostly, if you're a new artist and you're doing smaller pieces, they need to be in the inch and under range. You're not likely going to need some hyper detail brushes, and you're not going to need some giant brushes. I have some giant brushes, but I'm painting on big canvases. Little tip, if you go into, say, Walmart or Michael's, there's going to be a package of brushes in a nice little assortment, and it will generally have everything but like the filberts, and it's really everything you need to start. Make sure it says acrylic on it. You don't want a watercolor brush, that won't work in your acrylic paints, and you don't really want them to be specialized for oil because there actually is some differences in these two mediums. Now when you're feeling the softness of a brush, I like a medium little flick back, and what that generally means is I don't want it to be all soft and squishy. It doesn't need to be soft and squishy, and I don't want it to be a stick. A stick can be painted with, but is a very advanced technique, not for new little artists. The other thing is here, you see these red Solo cups? You can be very green and keep your water in a glass cup, or you can keep water in a red Solo cup. Acrylic paint can be kind of hard on what it's in, so whatever you're putting it in, it's in. There's fabulous specialized palettes. I also am a fan of the polystyrene plate. Not fantastic for the environment, but fairly good as an art palette. A measurement tool. Measurement tools are great. I'll be using them in my lessons. I have gotten them free at banks. I have acquired them from my kids' discarded school supplies. There's lots of ways to get into these. You don't have to spend a lot of money. There's my little toots talking. Chalk. Pencil. Just a regular pencil and some nice chalk. I just have kids' chalk right here and it works for me. Very inexpensive. Also, to clean my brushes. Lots of fancy soaps out there and they are terrific. But it's Dawn soap. Dawn soap's fantastic. It does not specifically have to be this brand. Any sort of good dishwashing soap will clean the paint out of your brushes. I like to grab, and at this point anymore, you can even get this at Walmart, a medium varnish. And it'll say gloss, medium, and varnish. Lots of brands. This is Liquitex. I love Liquitex. They're a fantastic company. Paints. So, in the entry levels, we have things like Simply Acrylic. Simply Acrylic is at Walmart. Now here's the trick to them. They like to rename things like on the front, but you can find out what its actual name is on the back. So if I'm like, you need polyethylene green, look at the back. It will tell you. So even if it says dark green up front, it'll say phthalo green on the back. Then the other one is the Master's Touch. I found this at Hobby Lobby. And it also likes to do a little swatch of paint sometimes in the back. I found that and I like that. This is ultramarine. They're pretty actually true on. What I paint with most commonly in my studio, Matisse, which you can get at Jerry's Artorama. And I like to use Structure, though they do have a great flow paint and a lot of products. Comes in tubes like this, comes in tubs. Most of the big paint companies will have those kinds of options. Then there's Liquitex Basics. So this is a tier 1 paint. That means it's a beginner paint. It's economical. It's accessible generally everywhere that you would go buy paint. The positives are the economics and the flow. The negatives are that sometimes the pigments are not as rich and the binders are not as strong and they can weaken, and so it can be frustrating for new artists, but you know what? Painting party places everywhere are using these tier 1 paints to a lot of success. And I find that if you just accept their nature, they can work out really well for you. Also at, say, Michael's, there's these Artist Lofts paint, which I've been using. I had these neon colors. I did some neon projects for the kids. They were super fun. And then, of course, I have the Goldens. Now, Goldens generally are just a tier 3 paint, and they have great mediums and great additives, all kinds of product here. This is when you sort of like are rolling in the Liquitex and the Golden. You're really doing some stuff. Now, Golden has historically accurate colors. This is really cool. A lot of the paints are not like the paints that you see in the museum that the masters used, but there's a whole line of historic paints. I think that's pretty exciting. I have a little collection of them that I play with that I just adore. And then canvases. Now, most of what I'm going to be doing are like these 16 by 20s or these 8 by 10s. The sizes are relevant to you because if it's an 8 by 10, it's proportional to a 16 by 20. You could guess the next size would be a 32 by 40. Oh my God, you actually did need math, but only for sizing up canvases. All the canvases nowadays will be stapled on the back, which we've mentioned before is the fancy term for gallery wrap. And all that means is that you can paint around the edges if you're not up for framing, but you can always still frame. If you purchase standard size canvases, then framing is economical. I have purchased a complete studio kit at Walmart, including canvas and paper towels and plates for $25. And I've spent several hundreds at the art supply store, and I have used them both to create pieces. This piece here was created with student paints and then a very high grade gloss finish called string gel. So you can even combine those things. Don't forget that you need paper towels. Are fantastic. They're really good. Maybe not as green as they could be, but they're good. And of course, and the art ninjas won't like you to know this, the hairdryer. Because while probably you will be chasing kids and your painting will be drying on your break, if you actually have a moment of free creativity where somebody is not totally disrupting your life, your hairdryer will work out for you. That is your basic setup. I guess you could also have your artist tape, which is a tape you buy at the art supply store. It doesn't stick to your canvas. It gives you crisp lines. When you get into street scenes and things like that, it's useful. Toothbrush, don't throw it away. This is excellent for snow and sand. That's the whole basic kit. If you get into this basic kit, you're going to be ready to do 95% of the projects that certainly we will be talking about and really anybody else will be talking about. So recap, there are tier 1 3 paints, tier 2 and tier 3. Tier 1 being student grade, less pigment, less binder. Tier 3 being like everything your chemist can throw at it, and the pony that rode in on it. It's fantastic. I love tier 3, but it's good to start painting, so start on this. These are economical. You can get these just anywhere in packs. That's useful. That's your kit. And this is my doodle. I hope that your week is full of love, joy, hope, and peace, and see you at this easel soon. I hear my little background noise going and I'm like, ah!